Welcome to this inspiring story of courage, hope, and learning. Join us as we follow Liam's amazing journey from a quiet village boy to someone who found his voice and shared it with the world. The village was small and quiet, far away from the city. Green hills surrounded it, and narrow roads ran past brown houses made of stone and wood. Chickens walked around freely, and goats called out in the mornings. People lived simple lives. They all spoke the same language, shared the same stories, and followed the same rules. But there was one boy who was different. His name was Liam. He was 14 years old. He had sharp eyes and a quiet voice. He did not like noisy places or big crowds. He liked silence. He enjoyed sitting under trees or lying on the grass to watch the sky. Most of all, he loved the wind. He believed the wind spoke to him, not like a person, but like a friend or a teacher. When the wind moved through the trees, it made gentle sounds. Liam listened closely. When he closed his eyes, he heard more than just noise. He heard rhythm, he heard patterns, he heard words. No one else understood. His mother thought he was just dreaming. His father thought he was wasting time. His classmates laughed at him. They teased him, saying, "Are you talking to the air again? Does it talk back?" But Liam did not reply. He just smiled because he knew what he heard. It all began one afternoon. The sky was grey, and the leaves shook in the breeze. The wind was strong but calm. Liam was sitting by the river under the old fig tree. He was listening when a sound came through the wind that did not feel natural. It was quiet but clear. It was one word. He had never heard it before, but he knew it was real. "Hello." He opened his eyes and looked around. There was no one there, no footsteps, no shadows, only the river and the wind. But the word stayed in his mind. It repeated inside his heart. Hello. A simple word, a new sound, a new world. That night, he could not sleep. He kept whispering the word, hello, hello. He liked how it sounded in his mouth. The H was like a breath. The O was round like the moon. He wrote the word on a piece of paper and stared at it for hours. He did not know what it meant, but it felt like a door opening. The next day, he went back to the tree, sat in the same place, closed his eyes, and waited. The wind came again, this time softer and slower. It brought 2 more words. "How are you?" Liam opened his eyes wide. He repeated the words, "How are you?" It felt strange, but exciting. These were not village words. They were not his language. They were English words. Somehow, he just knew. Days went by. Every afternoon, Liam went to the tree. The wind returned. The words came. Sometimes they were fast, sometimes slow, sometimes just one word, sometimes a whole sentence. "My name is, I am, thank you." Liam listened. He repeated the words. He practiced them out loud when no one was near. He said them in the morning while brushing his teeth, while feeding the chickens, even in his dreams. But he told no one, not even his mother or his brother. This was his secret, his gift, his path. He was not learning English from a book or from a teacher. He was learning it from the wind. One night during dinner, he tried something new. He looked at his spoon and said, "Spoon?" His little sister laughed. "What did you say?" she asked. "Is that a game?" He smiled, but did not answer. His father frowned. "Speak our own language," he said. No need to copy the city people. Liam lowered his head and stayed silent. But inside, he felt proud. He had a world inside him that no one else could see. A world where words floated like leaves in the air. A world where he was more than a boy from a small village. He was a learner, a traveler, someone who spoke secret things. Each word was like a stone on a bridge. Little by little, he was building a path to something new. He did not know where it would lead, but he knew he had to follow it. Maybe the wind chose him, or maybe he chose the wind. Either way, his journey had started, and Liam, the quiet boy in the quiet village, was no longer just listening, he was learning to speak. My name is Liam. I am 12 years old. This is a tree. That is a house. He repeated these words over and over, slowly and carefully. He whispered them while he walked. He sang them softly in the bath. He said them to the animals. He even spoke them to the sky. No one had taught him these words. Not at school, not at home, not from a book. The other children spent their time learning normal lessons like math, science, and religion. But Liam was learning something different, something no one else could understand, something that felt like a treasure. He was not just learning how to say words. He was learning how to feel them. At first, he kept it a secret, but soon it became hard to hide. One morning, he pointed to his breakfast and said, "Bread." His mother looked at him. "What did you say?" she asked. "Bread," Liam repeated with a smile. She frowned. "Say it properly." Liam looked down and went quiet again. At school, he raised his hand and said, "Chair." The teacher stopped writing. "That is not our word," he said. "Speak clearly. Use your own language." The other students laughed. Some called him names. "Crazy wind boy," one shouted. "Go talk to your tree," another teased. But Liam did not stop. He could not. The words were now part of him. They moved inside him like blood. When he woke up, he said, "Good morning," to the sun. At night, he whispered, "Good night," to the stars. He counted in English. He named things in English. He even dreamed in English. Every new word made him feel taller inside, stronger and braver. His parents became worried. His father asked him, "Why do you talk like that?" Liam did not know how to explain. How could he tell them? The wind was teaching him. How could he say that these sounds felt like magic? His mother spoke to him one night. She said softly, "Liam, we are simple people. Our language is enough. You do not have to act like the rich city boys." But Liam was not acting. He was changing. He started to write words on small pieces of paper. He hid them in books, in boxes, and in his shirt pocket. He made a secret dictionary. He wrote down sun, moon, stars. It was not perfect. Sometimes he made mistakes. Sometimes he forgot how to spell. But every word felt like a key to a door only he could see. He noticed something strange, too. When he spoke the words, the wind seemed to answer him, not with clear voices, but with small signs, a stronger breeze when he got it right, a gentle swirl of dust when he learned something new. It was as if the wind was proud of him, like it was smiling. One afternoon, he saw a small, quick blue bird. He pointed and said, "Bird." A man nearby heard him. "What did you say?" he asked. Liam shook his head. "Nothing," he answered. The man stared and muttered, "Strange boy." But Liam did not feel strange. Hare felt alive. Some days were hard. The words did not come. The wind was silent. He felt lost. But he did not give up. He sat under the tree and waited. "Please," he whispered, "say something." And slowly, softly, a sound came. "Don't stop." It was clear. It was kind. It was enough. Liam smiled. He looked up at the sky and nodded. "I won't." In that moment, he understood something deep. He was not just learning English. He was learning patience. He was learning to trust. He was learning to believe in something no one else could see. Even if no one taught him and no one understood him, he kept going because he knew that word by word, he was becoming something new, and the wind was still listening. Liam had no one to speak with, so he started talking to everything. In the morning, he greeted the tree outside his window. "Good morning, tree." He smiled at the wall and said, "How are you today?" "Nay, taught me." The wind came almost every day now, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. Sometimes it was strong and playful, other times gentle and shy, but it always brought something new, a sound, a phrase, a short sentence. Liam was always ready. He would run to the fig tree near the river, sit on the soft earth, and close his eyes. The wind was his classroom. The leaves were like his books, the sky was his ceiling, and the air was his teacher. He was learning English, but he had no notebook or pencil. He did not even know what English really was. He only knew these words were not from his language. They were new, different, and special. He looked at his reflection in the spoon and softly said, "My name is Liam." Then he asked, "What is your name?" The object stayed silent, but he didn't mind. His voice filled the quiet air around him. Little by little, he was becoming a speaker, not of big speeches or fancy words, but of bravery. The wind still visited him, not every day, but enough to keep him trying. It brought him short phrases now, small questions, and answers. "What do you want?" "I want to learn." "Where do you live?" "I live in a village." He repeated them again and again. He copied the rhythm and the sound of the words. Sometimes he made mistakes, but he never stopped. He didn't wait to be perfect. He just kept practicing. He made a game with his shadow in the sun. "Hello," he would say, and his shadow nodded back. Then he asked, "Do you like the sky?" and answered for the shadow, with a different voice, "Yes, I do. The sky is blue." He invented stories. He played both parts. He was the question and the answer, the listener and the speaker, the learner and the teacher. His room turned into a classroom. The mirror was his friend. He stood in front of it for hours, practicing, smiling, frowning, laughing. "I am happy. I am sad. I am tired. I am strong." He watched his lips move. He studied his eyes. Every sentence felt like a step forward, and with every step, he felt closer to something. He didn't know what it was, but it felt real. But as he spoke more, he felt more alone. Nobody spoke back. Nobody understood. He tried once to teach his sister a word, cup. She giggled and ran off. His parents told him again to speak properly. His classmates ignored him. They played cricket, they chased each other, they shouted and laughed. Liam sat under a tree with strange words in his mouth and quiet in his heart. He started to wonder if he was doing something wrong. Was this voice inside him a mistake? Why couldn't he be like the other kids? Why couldn't he forget the wind and play like a normal boy? But every time he thought of giving up, a new word would come, a gentle whisper. It was like the wind knew when he felt weak, and each word gave him new strength. Believe, he heard one evening, just before sunset. He stood alone in a field, looking at the orange sky. The wind moved softly, and the word came like a feather. Believe. He repeated it. Believe. He didn't know how to spell it. He didn't know exactly what it meant, but he felt it deep in his chest. It meant, don't stop. It meant, trust yourself. It meant, keep going. So he kept talking to the grass, to the trees, to the rocks by the river. He imagined conversations. He made up questions. He gave his school bag a voice. He gave his shoes personalities. Where are we going? He'd ask. To school, the shoe would answer. Are we ready? Always ready. He laughed at his own jokes. He cried when nobody could see. He learned that language was not just about words, but also about feelings. At night, he talked to the ceiling. One day, he told it, I will speak to a real person. One day, someone will listen. One day, I will not be afraid. And the ceiling listened, and the wind moved through the window as if to say, yes, one day. His English was not perfect, but it was growing. His voice was still small, but it was strong. His heart was still lonely, but it was full of hope. He began to write short notes in his notebook, sentences, thoughts, dreams. I want to speak to the world. I want to travel. I want to be free. These were not just words. They were promises. Liam was not only learning a language, he was building a new life, quietly alone, but with a purpose. He was learning that shadows can be friends, that silence can teach, that a voice, even a small one, can change everything. And somewhere deep in the wind, a voice still whispered to him, keep going, Liam. Keep talking. Your words will find someone. It was a bright morning. The sun was shining high and the sky was blue. The village was busy, with people going to the market. Children were running along the dusty road. Sellers shouted out prices. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. Liam sat under his usual tree, with his notebook on his lap. He wrote down a sentence he had learned the night before. Today is a beautiful day. He spoke it out loud, slow and clear, and smiled. Then something different happened. A car arrived. It was not a village car or a delivery van. It was shiny, big, and red. It stopped near the old well, and the engine turned off. People paused what they were doing. They watched. They waited. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, with pale skin, wearing sunglasses, and holding a small map. He looked around and said something. No one understood. He repeated, "Excuse me, can anyone help me?" His voice was calm, but nobody answered. People glanced at each other. Some smiled politely, some stepped back. A few children laughed. The man scratched his head and looked at the map again, then back at the crowd. "I need directions," he said. Liam stood up. His heart beat fast. His hands felt cold. His feet wanted to stay still. But a voice inside told him, "This is your chance." He took a deep breath and slowly walked toward the man. The villagers stared. The stranger looked at him and asked, "Do you speak English?" Liam opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He cleared his throat. "Yes, I speak little English, he finally said. The man smiled. That's great. I'm trying to find the old fort. Is it nearby? Liam blinked. He understood, but had never spoken like this with a real person before, and not in front of everyone. He pointed toward the hills. You go straight, then left turn. Fort is there behind big trees. The man looked where Liam pointed. Left after the road? He asked. Liam nodded. Yes, you go left. Fort is 10 minutes. The stranger laughed kindly. Thank you, young man. You just saved me a lot of time. Liam smiled. Welcome. The man looked around. No one else speaks English here? Liam shook his head. Number only me. The man seemed impressed. Well, you're doing a great job. What's your name? Liam hesitated. My name is Liam. Nice to meet you, Liam. I'm Jack. They shook hands. Then Jack got back into his car. He waved. Thank you again. Liam waved back. Good luck. The car drove away. Silence filled the place. The villagers looked at Liam. Some were surprised, some confused. An old man said, You understood him? Liam nodded. Yes. Another man asked, Where did you learn that? Liam looked at the windmill, turning slowly in the distance. He smiled. I listen. Someone laughed softly. To what? The radio? No, Liam said. To the wind. They didn't understand, but they didn't laugh this time. A woman whispered, That boy, he helped a traveler. A teacher from the school nodded. That was real English. For the first time, Liam felt seen, not as the strange boy who talks to shadows, but as someone useful, someone with something special. Later that day, a few children followed him home. One boy asked, What does hello mean? Liam smiled. Greetings. The boy nodded. Can you teach me more? Liam said. Yes. He had never taught anyone before, but something was different now. The wind was still his teacher, but he had become a teacher too. That night, he looked up at the stars and whispered, I did it. The wind brushed against his face softly, like a gentle hand, like a proud friend. And for the first time, Liam believed he was not just learning a language. He was building a bridge between two worlds, and he had taken his first step across. 2 days after the stranger left, something surprising happened. A small package came for Liam. It was wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. On top was a note in neat writing. For Liam, keep learning. From Jack. Liam's hands shook as he untied the string. Inside was a black radio, old and dusty but strong. A small antenna stuck out from the top. The buttons were worn, but the words were still clear. Power, volume, tuning. He turned the dial. A sharp noise came first, then static, then music. Real music, English voices, songs with words he didn't fully know, but they pulled him in. Then a newsreader spoke. Calm voice, fast words, talking about faraway places, smooth accents. He didn't understand everything, but he understood enough to feel like something big was opening. It was like a window had appeared in his room, showing him another world. From that day, the radio became his best friend. He kept it next to his bed. He carried it to the river. He hid it inside his school bag. At night, he listened under the blanket with the volume turned down. In the morning, he listened while brushing his teeth. He repeated the words, line by line. Good morning. This is BBC World News. My favorite color is blue. Today, we talk about the weather. Let's begin the story of the brave lion. He copied their voices, their speed, their tone. He tried to say it just like them. Sometimes he paused and played it again and again until it felt natural. His tongue moved faster. His ears listened better. He didn't just repeat the words. He started to really hear them. He began to feel the meaning, not just guess. The radio was a teacher that never got tired. Every song brought new words. Every commercial added more. One day, he heard a children's story. It was simple: a lion, a mouse, a forest. But the way it was told, smooth and clear, made Liam smile. The next day, he repeated the whole story to himself, word for word, even the voices, even the sound of wind in the background. Learning felt alive now. His English improved faster than before. He could say more, ask more, imagine more. He wrote down lines in his notebook. "What's your name? Would you like some tea? This is a beautiful day." His sentences grew longer. His questions were clearer. He could almost have a full conversation in his mind. Sometimes he pretended to be on the radio himself. Sitting near the window, he'd say, "Good evening, everyone. This is Liam, and today's lesson is about the sky." His dreams changed too. He saw cities, trains, airports. He heard loudspeakers calling out names. He saw people talking fast in cafe. He pictured himself wearing a backpack, walking down new streets, asking for directions in English, buying books, making friends. In his dreams, he was not only speaking, he was living a new life. The radio gave him more than language. It gave him hope. His parents still didn't fully understand. His mother would watch him from the kitchen. "Always talking to yourself," she'd say, but her voice was softer now. His father once picked up the radio, turned it in his hands, and said, "This came from the traveler?" Liam nodded. "It helps me learn." His father didn't say more, but he didn't take it away either. Even the neighbors noticed. One man said, "He sounds like he's from another country now." A shopkeeper laughed. "Maybe he'll be on the radio one day." Liam heard these things. They made him nervous, but proud too. He now understood that language was not just about grammar. It was about connection, sound, rhythm. The radio taught him how people really spoke. Not slow, perfect school sentences, but real, natural, warm talk, with mistakes included. He didn't know where this would lead him. He didn't have a map, but he had the wind. He had his voice. And now he had this window, this little radio that showed him the world. When he looked out of his own window at night, he didn't just see the hills anymore. He saw possibilities. It began with a small, nervous smile. Liam stood in front of the mirror one afternoon, holding a comb in one hand, staring at his own face. Earlier, he had heard something on the radio. "Smile when you speak. It makes you sound friendly." That sentence stayed in his mind all day. That night, he stood at the mirror again. No comb, this time, just his voice. He took a deep breath, looked into his own eyes, and said, "Hello, my name is Liam." His mouth moved slowly, his lips felt dry, and his eyes blinked too much. But he kept going. "What is your name?" he asked. Then he changed his voice to answer, "My name is Jack." He laughed a little. It felt strange, but fun. From that night, the mirror became his new friend. Every day after school, he stood in front of it, practicing simple conversations. "How are you?" "I am fine." "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the market." "Do you like mangoes?" "Yes, I love mangoes," he asked and answered, correcting mistakes along the way. Sometimes he said something wrong. Sometimes he forgot a word, but every mistake was a step forward, not backward. His grammar wasn't perfect. Sometimes he said, "He go to shop," then caught himself and corrected it to, "He goes to shop." Slowly, these small fixes became natural. He didn't need someone else to tell him what was wrong. His own ears learned to hear it, and his mouth learned to fix it. The mirror helped him see not just the words, but the feelings. He watched his face when he said, "I am happy." He saw how his eyebrows moved when he asked, "Why are you sad?" He practiced showing feelings: surprise, joy, anger, excitement. Really? Oh no, that's great. He wanted his English to sound real, full of life. In the beginning, he spoke like a robot, flat and careful. But now, when he said good morning, he added a smile. It made his voice warmer. The radio voices were always friendly, so he copied them. He smiled when he said, "Thank you," or "Please." Soon, smiling felt like part of the language. Some nights, when the house was quiet, he stood in front of the mirror for almost an hour. He pretended to be a shopkeeper, a tourist, a teacher, a customer. "How much is this?" "This is 10 rupees. "Do you speak English?" "Yes, a little." He built small worlds with only words and his reflection. He made many mistakes, but he didn't stop. Each time he practiced, his fear became smaller, his pauses shorter, and the silence in his throat turned into clear words, into confidence. The mirror never laughed at him or interrupted him. It gave him space. Space to talk, to try, to grow. One day, he spoke without thinking. He looked at the mirror and asked, "What time is it?" Not for practice, but as a real question. Then he smiled. That was the first moment he felt truly fluent. Not like the radio people or the traveler from the city, but fluent in his own way, comfortable, sure, believing in himself. He learned something big. You don't need a classroom to speak. You don't need a teacher to start. You only need yourself, your voice, a mirror, and courage. The mirror showed him more than his face. It showed him progress. It showed him change. It showed him that talking to yourself was not silly. It was brave. It was strong, because when the mirror talks back, it is really the future version of you answering, the one who can already speak, the one who is not afraid, the one waiting to be found. Liam was starting to find that person, but then his voice grew small again. He wondered if it had all been a dream. Maybe the wind never spoke. Maybe he just made it up. The villagers stayed the same, laughing, talking, living as before. Nobody asked him about English anymore. Nobody remembered the traveler. Liam felt alone again, truly alone. For a whole week, he didn't speak a word of English, not even to himself. But something inside him refused to stay silent. One night, he sat on his bed and looked at the radio. He turned the dial slowly. The voices came back fast, clear, familiar. A story was playing about a boy and a kite. He listened. He knew the words. He felt their meaning. His lips moved. "Don't stop," the voice in the story said. "Fly again." That night, he dreamed of standing in a big field. The wind pushed him forward, but this time it said nothing. It only helped him move. He ran faster, with no voice guiding him, only the air at his back and his own feet. He woke up with a new thought. Maybe the wind was never the power. Maybe the power was always me. He stood in front of the mirror and looked deep into his eyes. "Hello," he said softly. "I am Liam." Then louder, "I speak English." Then stronger, "I can do this." He opened his notebook, turned the pages. So many words, so many sentences, all written by him. No one gave them to him. He found them. He made them his own. The next day, he walked through the market. A man dropped a bag. Liam bent down, picked it up, and said without thinking, "Here you go." The man looked confused. "What did you say?" Liam paused, then smiled. "You dropped this." The man nodded, thankful. Liam walked on. That night, he turned on the radio again. A voice said, "Confidence is like a seed. It grows in silence." Liam repeated it. "Confidence is like a seed. It grows in silence." He realized something. Maybe the wind was supposed to leave. Maybe it had done its job. It came to show him the path, then let him walk alone. Now, his learning didn't depend on the tree or the breeze. It came from inside, from the choice to speak, to try, to fail, and to try again. He started practicing even more. He asked himself hard questions. He answered with new words. His mistakes were fewer. His sentences grew longer. He listened to the radio not only to practice, but for joy. He spoke in English to people when he could. Most importantly, he didn't wait for the wind anymore. He saw the truth. The wind had never really been outside. It had always been inside him, using the air to speak until he was ready to hear his own voice. Now he was ready. The days turned warmer. The sky stayed clear and blue. The wind still came and went, but Liam didn't wait for it anymore. He had found his own rhythm, his own voice, and his own strength. The boy who once spoke softly to trees and shadows could now talk clearly to people, and one by one, the village began to notice. It started with his little sister. She was playing with a doll and said, "This is my baby." Liam sat beside her and gently added, "Say it in English." She tried, a bit shy, and made a mistake. Liam smiled. "That's good. Try again." She laughed. "My baby." It was her first English sentence. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Then the neighbor's son, a shy boy, who usually hid behind his mother, sat near the tree where Liam's journey began. Liam sat with him. "Do you want to learn a word?" The boy nodded. Liam pointed to the sky. "Sky," he said. "Say it." The boy tried. "Sky." Liam laughed kindly. "Almost. Try again. Sky." The boy said it correctly, and they both smiled. Soon more children joined. Some were curious, some confused, and some just wanted to play. Liam didn't act like a teacher. He didn't stand in front of a class or hold a stick. He just spoke to them. He used simple words and easy steps. "Hello, my name is. This is a cat. I like apples." He showed them how to listen, repeat, look in a mirror, and smile while speaking. He told them, "You don't need a big classroom, just your voice." He told them, "Mistakes are part of learning. Speak anyway." He told them, "The wind helped me. Now I want to help you." The villagers started to see him differently. People who once called him strange now called him wise. The shopkeeper said, "My daughter said, 'Thank you' in English. She learned it from Liam." The school headmaster invited Liam to talk to the class. Liam stood before 20 children and said, "My name is Liam. I used to be scared and silent, but I practiced, and you can too." He showed them his notebook filled with old words, crossed-out words, and words rewritten many times. "This is my book of mistakes," he told them. "It helped me speak." The children laughed. They wanted their own books of mistakes. Even grown-ups came to him. A farmer asked, "How do I say I sell tomatoes in English?" Liam showed him. A woman who made tea asked, "How do I say come inside?" Liam taught her. He never laughed at their accents. He didn't correct too much. He only encouraged them, the way the wind once encouraged him. He became the voice others trusted. Sometimes in the evening, he sat by the river where it all began. He looked at the water, the stars, and the quiet trees. He remembered when he only spoke to the air, when the wind was his only friend. Now there were real people, real voices, real conversations. He was not alone anymore. He thought about the first word he ever heard. Hello. It was a small word, but it had opened a big door. Now he was giving that word to others, helping them open their own doors. His English wasn't perfect. He still made small mistakes, but it didn't matter. His voice was strong, and his heart was steady. His message was simple. You can learn too. Start small. Don't stop. In that quiet village, where trees whispered and rivers flowed, the wind had taken a new shape, not just in the air, but in a boy's voice. A voice that once needed help, but now helped others. The wind had spoken, the boy had listened, and now he had become the wind himself. The morning was quiet. The sun was just coming up. A soft golden light touched the village rooftops. Liam stood at the roadside with a small bag on his shoulder and a ticket in his pocket. His heart was beating fast, just like the day he first talked to the traveller. But today was different. Today he was not waiting for someone to come. He was the one leaving. He had saved for months, earning a little from working at the shop and a little from teaching children. He didn't need much, just enough for the bus ride, a simple hotel, and a few meals. But he carried something more valuable than money. He carried confidence. He carried the voice that had once shaken in front of a mirror, the voice that used to whisper to shadows, the voice that had grown strong. As the bus came closer, Liam took a deep breath. "I am ready," he said softly. The driver opened the door, and Liam stepped inside. It was the first time he had ever left the village. The familiar trees disappeared behind him, and the hills that once marked the edge of his world grew smaller in the mirror. New land stretched out ahead, unknown and exciting. He reached the town by noon. It was loud, crowded, and busy. People rushed everywhere. Cars honked, sellers called out. Signs were all around him, some in his language, but many in English. Liam's eyes shone. His dream was happening for real. The first test came quickly. He was thirsty. He went into a small shop. The man behind the counter looked tired. Liam cleared his throat. "Excuse me, I want a bottle of water." The man looked surprised, then smiled and gave him a bottle. Liam paid. "Thank you," he said. The man replied, "You speak good English." Liam smiled wider. "I try." That moment felt huge, like reaching the top of a mountain. He spent the day walking through the town, reading signs out loud. Fresh fruits, Citibank, toilet this way. Every word was a small victory. Every sentence was like opening a door. He went to the bus station and asked, "Where is the ticket counter?" The man pointed. Liam followed without fear. He ordered tea in English. He asked for change in English. He even helped a traveler who looked confused. Later, he sat on a bench and watched people moving all around him. Everyone had somewhere to go. Everyone had something to say. For a moment, Liam felt small again, but then he remembered the tree, the mirror, the radio, and the voice inside him. He whispered, "I belong here, too." That evening, he sat at a small tea stall near the station. An old man sitting nearby looked curious. "You're not from here?" he asked. Liam smiled. "No, I'm from a small village." The man nodded. "But you speak like someone from the city." Liam looked down, shy but proud. "I practiced alone." The man was quiet for a moment, then said, "Keep going. The world needs more voices like yours." Those words stayed with Liam. He walked through the marketplace as the lights came on. The town glowed. He saw people speaking English, his own language, and even other languages. It made him think that language was not just sound. It was power, it was freedom, it was connection. He called home from a public phone. His mother answered. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I bought tea in English." She laughed softly. "That's my son." He stayed one night in a simple guest house. The room had one bed and one window, but to Liam, it felt like a palace. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Today, I used my voice in the real world. I am not perfect, but I am brave." He looked out the window at the hills far away. Beyond them waited his village, his students, his family, his mirror. But now, he had stepped outside that world. He had spoken not just to the wind, but to real people. The journey that had started with a quiet whisper had become a true voice on a true road. And even though the day was ending, Liam knew this was only the beginning. The bus rolled back into the village as the sun was setting. The same hills, the same trees, and the same narrow road welcomed Liam. But everything felt new, not because the village had changed, but because he had changed. The boy who once whispered to shadows was no longer afraid to be heard. The one who had waited for the wind now moved like the wind itself, calm, steady, and full of purpose. Children ran behind the bus, laughing as it stopped near the market. A few shopkeepers waved. Some people did not notice him right away, but when he stepped down, carrying his bag with a calm look in his eyes, someone said, "That's Liam." Another said, "He's back." The whispers spread through the village, not as gossip, but as respect. He walked home slowly, taking in the peacefulness of the village. His mother stood in the doorway. She didn't speak at first. She just looked at him, then hugged him. "Welcome home," she said softly. His father patted him on the back, and in his father's eyes, Liam saw something new, pride. That night, Liam sat under the fig tree, where everything had started. The leaves moved gently in the wind, but there was no voice in the breeze. For the first time, he was not waiting for it. He didn't need it anymore. The voice was already inside him. In the days that followed, children came to him again. But now, they didn't come just out of curiosity. They came because they trusted him. They came to learn. Liam began teaching under that same tree. No books, no blackboard, just words, stories, and conversations. "Say hello," he told them. "Say it with a smile." The children smiled. "Say my name is," they repeated. "Say I can speak English." Some spoke loudly, some softly, but they all tried. He told them his whole story about the silence, about the fear, about the mirror, the mistakes, how he had spoken to the traveller the first time he ordered tea in town, and how he once waited for the wind to teach him. But the truth is, he told them, you don't need the wind. You just need to listen to yourself. He looked into their eyes and said, you don't need a teacher. You just need a reason and some faith in your own voice. The village listened to him differently now, not like a child, but like someone who had found something true. One day, the old school teacher asked, how did you really learn? Liam smiled and answered, by talking to the sky and to myself. One morning, the wind came back while he stood alone near the school. It touched his cheek softly, like an old friend. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Liam closed his eyes and whispered, thank you. He knew then the wind was never magic. It was only a beginning. Now he was the one sharing courage with others. He didn't shout or command. He simply showed them what was possible. Every time he spoke, someone else tried to speak too. Slowly, quietly, a new kind of wind moved through the village. Children started using English in the streets. Mothers learned small phrases. Fathers asked questions with simple words. Liam would hear someone at the market say, how much is this? In English, and smile. The change was real, and it all began with a whisper. He was no longer just Liam, the boy with a dream. He was Liam, the boy who spoke with the wind and became like it. Because, in the end, the wind does not teach forever. It only shows you your own voice. And when you find it, use it, and share it, then you become the wind for someone else. It's a wonderful way to practice English every day. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that motivate and teach. Leave us a comment about what inspired you most. And remember, your voice can change someone's world too.